To put it bluntly, there has never been a bigger star in professional wrestling than Hulk Hogan. The Hulkster brought sports entertainment to a massive audience in the 1980s and kept making history well after that. Whether they loved or hated him, Hogan's death at the age of 71 has left fans everywhere stunned. TMZ reported that Hogan died of an apparent cardiac arrest after EMTs were dispatched to his home in Clearwater, Florida in the early hours of July 24, 2025. His death comes only around a month after his camp denied rumors that he was on his deathbed following neck surgery. Hogan had also just announced his newest business venture, the Real American Freestyle Wrestling League, in May. It was the last piece in a wide-ranging, varied roller coaster career. Hogan was trained by Japanese wrestling legend Hiro Matsuda in the mid-1970s. He went on to wrestle in various territories, including a short stint as a bad guy in the WWF. Hogan then wrestled in Japan for a while before returning to the WWF in 1983. Hulkamania began in earnest when Hogan won his first WWF World Championship from the Iron Sheik in January 1984. Hogan remained at the top of the WWF for nearly a decade, and during arguably its biggest boom period, holding the world title 5 times. In 1994, he made the jump to World Championship Wrestling, where he found himself on top of the pro wrestling world once again, when he became the leader of the New World Order in 1996. He held WCW's world title 6 times. He came back to the WWE for another successful run in 2002 after WCW went out of business and won the world title one more time. Hogan has been inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame twice as an individual in 2005 and again as a member of the NWO in 2020. Decades before John Cena and Dwayne Johnson left WWE behind for Hollywood, Hulk Hogan did the same. A high-profile appearance in 1982's Rocky III led to a starring role in the 1989 feature No Holds Barred, followed by Suburban Commando, Mr. Nanny, and the TV series Thunder in Paradise. A few more movie roles, the occasional TV guest spot, and quite a few ads came before Hogan's career as an actor eventually fizzled out.
Right guard sports stick. Anything less would be uncivilized.
Years later, Hogan claims an opportunity arose for a big screen comeback, which he turned down. He told Digital Spy, "I was approached 3 times to do the movie The Wrestler, that Mickey Rourke part, and I kept telling them if I did it, the film would suck." Hogan says he realized the baggage he'd bring to the film would ultimately be a hindrance, adding that people would say it had no credibility if he was in it. Over the years, the Hulkster has attached his name to some pretty bonkers products. Among these was an energy drink, the ingredients of which included horny goat weed. Then there was Hogan's foray into snack foods with the Hulkster cheeseburger, which could be purchased from the freezer section of the nearest convenience store. There was also the Hulk Hogan Thunder Mixer, or what most people would call a blender. Most notable of all, though, might be the product he chose not to hawk, a lightweight indoor grill that drained away fat from meat. If you haven't guessed, that kitchen appliance would eventually become known as the George Foreman Grill, which reportedly made the heavyweight boxer $138 million wealthier. Hogan eventually saw the error of his ways and slapped his name on a different grill. This proved to be a massive mistake when that product, Hulk Hogan's Ultimate Grill, was recalled after several reports that it caught fire, in some cases causing burns. Anabolic steroid use in sports became a major issue in the 1990s, and pro wrestling wasn't exempt from the scrutiny. In 1994, WWF head Vince McMahon was charged with conspiring to distribute steroids to the wrestlers in his employ, as well as ordering them to take the drugs to build muscle mass. A number of wrestlers were called in to testify in the trial, including Hulk Hogan. Under oath, Hogan confessed that he regularly took steroids, which weren't illegal until 1991 for more than a decade. He said, according to the New York Times, "I believed it was legal because I had a prescription for it." Hogan claimed the steroids weren't just for building muscle, but also to speed recovery from injuries and help maintain his grueling wrestling schedule. Hogan was adamant that McMahon never explicitly directed him to take steroids, and the WWF chairman was ultimately acquitted of all charges. Years later, Hogan opened up further about his steroid use on the Rover's Morning Glory radio show, saying he and others thought it was the correct thing to do at the time.
70s, 80s, doctors would write you a prescription, for a steroid, where every sport in the world was doing it.
In 1995, the Hulkster opened Hulk Hogan's Pasta Mania, an eatery in Minneapolis' Mall of America. As the Sportster recalled, the menu took a mix-and-match approach, offering 5 different types of pasta that could be topped with one of 5 different sauces. Kids could chow down on specialties such as Hulkaroni and cheese. The concept was a hit with no one, and Pastamania closed its doors just a few months after the grand opening. In 2012, Hogan dipped his toe in the restaurant business again, telling the Tampa Bay Times of his plans to open Hogan's Beach, which he described as Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville times 10 and Hooters times 10, but in a family-friendly way. Hogan was hopeful that his new Tampa eatery would also generate a new reality TV show. That show was never made. Hogan's Beach itself opened in January 2013 and shut down 2 years later. Hogan stepped up to bat one more time with Hogan's Hangout in Clearwater, Florida, launching with a soft opening in late 2020. As of summer 2023, the restaurant was still open for business. In the early 2000s, rocker Ozzy Osbourne and his family created the so-called celebrity subgenre of reality TV with The Osbournes. In the wake of that show's unexpected success, many more famous folks suddenly began inviting cameras into their homes. Hulk Hogan was among them, with Hogan Knows Best premiering in 2005 on VH1. Featuring Hogan, wife Linda, son Nick, and daughter Brooke, the show proved to be an out-of-the-box hit that gifted the network with its most-watched series premiere ever. Behind the scenes, however, a very different story was unfolding as the Hogan's marriage was unraveling. Nick was also involved in a horrific car accident that resulted in the passenger suffering serious injuries. Nick was charged with reckless driving and found guilty, ultimately serving 166 days behind bars. VH1 had no choice but to pull the plug and canceled the show after being on the air for just 2 years. The network did greenlight a spin-off featuring Brooke as she ventured out on her own. Brooke Knows Best ran for 2 additional seasons from 2008 until 2009. In 2007, Linda Hogan announced that she was filing for divorce after 24 years of marriage to Hulk Hogan. Linda's publicist, Gary Smith, told E! News, "When Linda discovered Hulk had an affair with Brooke's best friend, Christiane Plant, she made the decision to call it quits on the marriage." Despite denials from Hogan's team, Plant later confirmed the affair and offered an apology to the National Enquirer. She also claimed the Hogans had separated before the affair began. After a bitter 2-year court battle, the divorce was settled in 2009. Terms of the settlement were initially kept mum, but E! News later reported that Linda was granted in excess of 70% of the couple's assets, a 40% stake in the wrestlers' assorted companies, and another $3 million from the sale of their jointly owned beach house. Hulk Hogan's divorce put a considerable dent in his bank account, but that wasn't only bad news for his finances. In 2011, he appeared on Good Morning America to reveal he was on the brink of bankruptcy. He had just cut the asking price on his oceanfront Florida mansion by a staggering $16 million to facilitate a quick sale, reducing the price from $25 million to just under $9 million. He said he was living in a modest rental as he tried to keep his personal expenses down. Hogan blamed his lavish lifestyle for his current situation, saying, "I blew hundreds of millions. There were houses being bought, and cars being bought, and vacations for family members. There was $8, $9, $10 million, $11 million going out, so it got way off." Access offered further examples of Hogan's out-of-control spending when the outlet obtained a copy of the Hogan's divorce filing in 2008. The court papers listed such monthly expenses as $38,000 for legal fees, $7,000 on clothing, $7,500 on maid services for their various properties, and another $1,700 on jewelry. Hogan's reputation took some serious damage with the 2012 release of a sex tape. Filmed 6 years earlier on a secret camera that Hogan didn't know about, the recording showed Hogan in bed with Heather Clem, wife of his good friend, radio host Todd Clem, also known as Bubba the Love Sponge. Hogan's lawyer, David Houston, said Hogan felt absolutely betrayed over the recording. On the Today Show, Hogan took responsibility for the tape, saying, "I'm accountable, I was the guy, I was there, I made the choice." Hogan also told Howard Stern that the release of the tape, which was first posted on the celebrity news blog Gawker, had left him devastated.
And it was a huge, horrible decision. It's totally, never dreamed in a million years there would be a camera in Bubba's house.
Hogan sued Gawker over the release of the tape, seeking $100 million in damages. Hogan's lawyer contended that Gawker didn't contact Hogan or the Clems before uploading the video. Gawker countered that their actions were justified because the tape was newsworthy, even implying that Hogan himself was behind the leak to give his sagging career a boost. The jury sided with Hogan. The New York Times reported that he was awarded a whopping $115 million, plus an additional $25 million in punitive damages for a total payout of $140 million. The verdict proved devastating for Gawker, which filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection and ultimately shuttered the site. In a statement, Hogan's legal team said of the verdict, "We think it represents a statement as to the public's disgust with the invasion of privacy disguised as journalism. The verdict says no more." In 2015, the sex tape caused even further controversy. Radar Online and the National Enquirer published a previously unseen part of the recording, in which Hogan made some shocking statements in which he used the N-word multiple times and admitted, "I mean, I am a racist to a point." WWE terminated Hogan's contract with the company over his remarks and removed him from their Hall of Fame. Hogan immediately went on an apology tour.
Are you a racist?
No, I'm not. I'm not a racist. I never should have said what I said. It was wrong. I'm embarrassed by it.
He also sued Gawker a second time. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Hogan's new lawsuit alleged that Gawker had on several occasions threatened to go public with that part of the recording in hopes of bullying him into dropping his first lawsuit. The New York Times reported that Gawker settled with Hogan for $31 million. Gawker founder Nick Denton explained the decision to settle had less to do with Hogan than it did with Peter Thiel, the billionaire who Denton claimed had secretly been funding Hogan's lawsuit due to a vendetta against the company. In 2018, Hulk Hogan was reinstated into the WWE Hall of Fame. Rumors that WWE was further softening its stance toward Hogan bubbled up when he attended the premiere of HBO's documentary about fellow wrestling legend Andre the Giant, in which Hogan was interviewed. A report from PW Insider claimed that Hogan was in the midst of discussions with WWE execs about returning to the fold. CBS Sports in October of that year reported that WWE confirmed Hogan would be hosting the first Crown Jewel show in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. The first Crown Jewel was already controversial given Saudi Arabia's human rights record and the recent murder of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, among other issues. Sports Illustrated reported that wrestlers including John Cena and Daniel Bryan flat out refused to participate. The magazine's Jimmy Trina opined, "Bringing Hogan back at all is a slap in the face to these wrestlers. Bringing him back to host a show in Saudi Arabia is an epic case of tone deafness and reeks of total desperation after Cena and Bryan bailed on participating in the event." Hogan has since hosted other WWE events, including WrestleMania 37, where he was booed by the crowd.